Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Make Life Less Taxing podcast, the show where we uncover what really creates freedom in life and business, and we'll explore stories of those who've learned how to build wealth with purpose.
Welcome back to the Make Life Less Taxing podcast. I'm Daniel Hanzelka, and this is episode number 2. In episode 1, I told you about the red world of scarcity and the blue world of abundance, and how most people are living in a prison they can't even see. Today, we're going to go down deep into something even more important. We're going to name the enemy, because you cannot win the battle you cannot see. You cannot change a life you don't understand, and you cannot keep what is yours if you don't know who's taking it. In this episode, it's all about what you are really up against and how I see the game that's being played in your life, your money, and your identity. To explain this enemy, I need to bring you into a moment most people never hear about. A moment that looked normal on the surface, but underneath, something else entirely was happening. And only later did I realize that this is exactly how the system works. So about 12 years ago, I was on a trip in India. Not as a tourist, not in a hotel and sightseeing. It was more of a local experience, staying in locals' homes, eating the food, experiencing life the way that they lived in every day. Halfway through the trip, we were traveling back to New Delhi in a 4-car convoy. It was supposed to be a simple 3-hour journey, but about an hour in, we hit a massive accident. 2 trucks had collided head-on. The entire road was blocked, and all the cars, even motorcycles, were turning around. So we turned around, not a big deal, right? Well, took another route, except 2 hours later, we were actually 4 hours away from New Delhi instead of 3. So we were further away where we started. It kind of didn't make sense, but I shrugged it off. Well, it was part of the adventure, and I didn't really know the geography. So the driver was driving the car, and we just kept on driving. Hours passed by, and we at one point were the last car in the convoy. And as we were driving, suddenly the car stopped. I'm not sure what happened, but all I saw was the fading lights of the car ahead of us that kept on going further and further. Then what happened was I was sitting in the front seat, and there was a puff of smoke, and there was a sharp smell of like electricity burning. Now the engine cut off, and we rolled to a stop. The driver jumped out, popped the hood, and started looking at the engine. Now, I immediately grabbed the phone and called my business partner that I was there with, who was in one of the cars that was ahead of us, telling him that we've stopped. Well, I tried calling him several times, and finally I did get through and told him that our car broke down, but this was about 5 to 10 minutes after we stopped. So it took another about 15 minutes for them to come back, to turn around and see where we're at. What was interesting, that when they arrived, the driver suddenly said, "Hey, the car is fine, everything's okay, we just need to go and push start it." So we all got out of the car, and we push started the car started again, and we were going further along. Now, to prevent us from, again, getting separated again, they put us to the front of the convoy. But that's when the behavior of the driver changed a little bit, because the driver kept on talking on the phone. Now, we didn't understand what he was talking about, and he kept on going faster as if he was trying to get away. And then he would slow down. One of the other cars pulled over. They were screaming at each other through the window, and he was still on the phone and didn't really know what was happening. Now, as this was going on, I didn't really think about anything of it. I wasn't sure what was going on, but it did kind of seem strange that this was going on. Now, eventually we pulled into a gas station, and I told my business partner about the smoke and the smell before the car stopped. Now, his uncle, who hired the drivers, told us and make a quick decision. Hey, let's leave the car here. Everyone, let's get into the other cars. And we drove with the other cars. Now, I remember feeling bad for the driver, worried that now he's stranded, right? He was like 3 hours away drive, trying to get back. Didn't really know what was going to happen. Now, to kind of go and talk about the story, that 3-hour drive took over 12 hours. We didn't get to New Delhi until 7 o'clock in the morning, and we left at 7 o'clock at night the day before. Now, reason for that was not only the accident, not only the car breaking down and all of that stuff. We got a flat tire. We were still about an hour out of New Delhi, and it took us 3 hours just to figure out how to replace it because there wasn't a way how to go and get that done. But the real story, the real thing that has really happened didn't come out until about 3 days later, when my business partner's family that were still behind when we left came back, and it came out that the driver, the one that was driving our car, the car that supposedly broke down, right, the one that was kept on separating from the convoy, he was actually attempting to kidnap us, the three of us that was in that car, for ransom. So the breakdown was staged, the driving was deliberate, the phone calls was all part of the plan. And here is what it hit me the hardest when I was looking at this, that often the most dangerous part of that night was not the kidnapping effect or what was happening, the attempt. It was actually the fact that we had no idea we were in danger while it was all happening. We were all sitting in the car, trusting the driver, really trying to make sense of things as they were happening, even though something fell off. Not in my wildest dreams I was thinking this is what was happening, right? We were rationalizing the warning signs. We were in the game we didn't know we were playing. And that is why this story matters to what I want to talk about in this episode, because this is exactly how the enemy works in our life. Not dramatic, not obvious, not loud, but thorough. A detour that becomes your new normal. A breakdown that keeps you distracted. A quiet separation from people who protect you. A series of moments that don't feel right. So you ignore them. This is how the system works. And when I say the system, I don't just mean the government or taxes or politics. I mean the entire operation environment most advisors live in. The money system that quietly drains your energy, the business system that rewards burnout, punishes alignment, the financial system that treats your worth like a number, the educational system that taught you to obey, not to discern, the cultural system that normalizes exhaustion. The real danger is not the pain you can't see. The real danger is when you're being moved and you don't realize who's holding the steering wheel. Everyone talks about financial taxes, but for most advisors, money is the last tax you feel. Before that, the system has already taxed your clarity, your peace, your energy, your relationships and your marriage, your time with your kids, your creativity, your ability to hear God clearly, your sense of who you are. You feel it as constant urgency. The inbox pressure, the production quota, new regulation, market noise, one more training, another quarter where you hit the numbers, but feel even more empty inside. But most advisors blame themselves. I should be more disciplined. I just need better leads. I need new system, a new FMO, a new script. But here's the truth. You're not broken. You're plugged into a system that was never designed for your freedom. It was designed for your output. The harder you work, the more system collects. More of your time, more of your energy, more of your attention, more of your identity, until one day you look up and realize you build a career and lost yourself inside it. You're constantly feeling guilty that you should be doing more. You constantly feel like you're behind. And when you are at work, you're thinking about being at home. And when you're at home, you're thinking about being at work and working and hustling more. Let's put this as plainly as I can. Here is I see the game. You were born into the red world system. Scarcity, fear, confusion, control. It trains you to survive, not to lead. The system installs your operating system, how you see money, how you see God, how you see yourself, how you see what's normal. Then the industry builds on top of that. Production quotas worth, compliance over calling, activity over alignment, sell first, think later. The more you strive, the more taxed you become mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, long before dollars even leave your bank account. Eventually, you stop asking bigger questions. Is this the life I was created for? Is this how God sees wealth, work, and freedom? Is there a different way to play this game? And that's exactly where the system wants you to be. Busy enough not to question, tired enough not to change, and successful enough not to walk away, confused enough to think you are the problem. Just like I sat in that car in India, not realizing the driver had completely different destination in mind. Most advisors are sitting in a system that is driving them somewhere they never chose. So what do we do with that? This is where the Keep What Is Yours movement comes in. At its core, this movement is built on simple belief. Life has never meant to be this taxing. It was meant to be steward, but you cannot steward what you no longer own. So the first step of freedom is not a better tactic. It's reclaiming ownership of what the system has quietly taken away from you. Your time, your peace, your perspective and identity, your sense of calling, your authority as a leader and advisor, your ability to hear God and respond. Only then it makes sense to talk about building better offers, creating leverage, designing a media presence, restructuring your business model. Because if you try to build a blue world business on a red world operating system, it will always collapse back into pressure. The core philosophy is this: see the system for what it is. Name the enemy. Stop blaming yourself. Reset your operating system. Shift from survival identity to stewardship identity. From I'm being used by the system to I am a trusted steward of God's kingdom. Build leverage the system can't easily tax. Your voice, your positioning, your authority, your content, and your relationships. Also, your frameworks and intellectual property. That's what I mean when I say you were meant to keep what is yours. Not just your wealth, but your clarity, your peace, your purpose, your identity, and the future God actually intends you to live into. Let's come back to that car for a moment. There were three things that made us vulnerable. We were in unfamiliar territory, we didn't know the roads or the culture, and we trusted the wrong driver. We assumed his destination was our destination. We didn't realize what was happening until it was almost too late. That's the same pattern I see with advisors. You're in unfamiliar territory. Technology, regulation, new markets, marketing, AI, content. You've trusted the wrong driver. Outdated industry narrative, fear-based advice, survival stories. You don't realize how much of is being taken away from you until the cost is your health, your marriage, your faith. This podcast exists so that what happened to me physically in that car doesn't keep on happening to you in your spirituality, emotionally, and financially in your life. In the next episode, we're going straight to the foundation of identity. Because here's the truth. Most people never hear. The system can only steal from you to the extent that it gets to define you. Most advisors never lose because of a strategy. They lose because the system replaces their identity with production, pressure, compliance, survival, do more, chase harder. So what you need to be doing, you need to stop riding in the back seat, hoping the driver knows where you're going. You become the one who chooses who drives, which road you take, and where your life is actually going. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with one question, and don't rush past this. Where in your life right now you have accepted something taxing you and becoming normal that you know deep down is not okay? What are you tolerating? This is the exact place where the movement begins for you. Because the moment you name the enemy, you take back authority. This is the Make Life Less Taxing podcast. Keep what is yours, movement, and this is just the beginning. God bless, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Make Life Less Taxing podcast. Be sure to check out our other top advisor interviews at makelifelsesstaxingpodcast.com.